Hi again, everybody. Welcome to another Hawkeye Huddle Extra, powered by Iowa Telecom. I'm Brett Ridge. This is Dave Creighton Jr., and we join you each week on the Hawkeye Huddle out of AM 940 in Des Moines or around the world on thehawkeyehuddle.com, powered by Iowa Telecom. David, the Hawkeye football team now 5-5 after a 3-5 start. They've won 3 out of 4 games, and it looks like they very well could win their last couple of games and get to a bowl game, which a couple of weeks ago seemed impossible. What has turned it around for them here in the last couple of weeks?
You know, it's a really good question, and I think it's a combination of things. I think the Hawks have gotten an infusion of energy, particularly on defense when it comes from some freshmen playing. They've been executing a lot better against Michigan State. They got the running game going. Last week, Jake Christensen woke up following a horrific first half, one in which I suggested to you that perhaps I should be playing quarterback or anyone other than Jake.
Yeah.
But the execution has been better, the energy level has been better, and I think the coaches have actually fed off, or the players have fed off the coaches showing a little bit more emotion.
Well, I don't think you can step around anything other than execution. I think in every play, when you look and see when the Hawks have been successful, it has been because they have just flat out blocked it better. They have flat out run better pass routes. This last weekend, Jake Christensen had a good second half. The receivers had a better second half. I want to give Jake some credit, but those receivers ran great routes. And if you go back and watch the tape, you will see DJK finally coming around to getting his steps and Trey Strauss finally getting his steps down. That makes an awful big difference, and certainly you got to give the quarterback time, and all of a sudden it all comes together. It's still going to be a struggle from time to time because there are so many young people out there, but
we're going to struggle some over the next 2 weeks on different series, on different occasions.
Absolutely. They're not going to just plow over Minnesota and Western Michigan. All right.
Exactly.
Well, we talked about the infusion on defense, and you mentioned that there have been some new players in there. Adrian Claiborne has played a bunch. Christian Ballard has played a bunch. Certainly Jacody Coleman has come in. Those guys, defensive linemen and linebackers. And they've played in spots where a lot of Iowa fans thought that you should have seen them earlier this year. They're true freshmen, but people thought maybe they needed to spell some of the older guys in there. But that hasn't happened until the last couple of weeks.
Well, and you have to take into account that what you're seeing is fresh energy coming in from these defensive lines. Christian Ballard has just been playing like a man possessed. He didn't know where to line up 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I believe that those of us who've seen his good works, if you will, over the last couple of weeks have got to recognize he didn't just get there because they threw him on the field. There was some coaching, and trust me, I was at the Northwestern game. Our defensive line coach may be the most intense person in the history of coaching.
He was all over him.
Oh, my goodness.
And he getting firing up those freshmen, and the energy has been something, like you said, that has been probably the difference in those guys is they really have come in with a lot of emotion. I thought in Michigan State's case, that game, even when they came in the second quarter, you saw a lot of energy out of them. But should they have been playing earlier this year? I think you're right. Probably not. The coaches are going to tell you they weren't ready. And Iowa fans need to just get over this fact that they thought they were maybe ready earlier.
I don't understand where people who never go to practice all of a sudden decide who should be the players.
Enough said on that. Basketball season opens this Friday night. The Hawks against Idaho State on the men's side.
Which we will be not favored in.
Well, you know, it's going to be tough this year. Tony Freeman has now broken a foot. He's out for a couple of months, and he will be out for a couple of months. And the Hawks, with a close scrimmage there today against Northern State, a Division II school, they lose it to Northern State. So this is a team that's going to have a tough time early on. Todd Licklider's squad, we may love them. They're going to have a tough time early on.
I don't think anyone should have any expectations that this team will ever win more than, if they get to double-digit wins, you got to look at it as a positive year. If they're going to struggle, they lost their most experienced and best player. I think, arguably, Tony Freeman, I think everyone would have to say he's the best player on the team coming back. So you're in the hands of freshmen, and freshman point guards in college basketball is tough. And in the Big Ten, it's tougher.
Well, fortunately, you have a couple of big guys in the middle who have been around, Luby, Tate, and of course Seth Gorney. They may not be the greatest players, but they have been there, and you'll see how that works out along with Jared Cole coming in. But I think the key to this squad is going to be, can Jeff Peterson stop turning the ball over? In both exhibitions, he's had a tough time keeping hold of the ball. They've turned it over 20 times against Simpson. That's going to be the key. Can you get the young guard play? Because without Tony Freeman, you're going to need somebody to get the ball to those big guys, and they can play around the hoop. Jeff Peterson, the freshman out of Maryland, he's going to be the key to this. We'll see how it goes. I think you're right. It's probably going to be tough to get to 10 wins this year, but the schedule is pretty easy. So if they can get it rolling early, they get the combinations
If you can't beat Northern State, you're not going to beat any other directional school in D1.
They might not be favored against Idaho State. All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Hawkeye Huddle Extra. We'll join you each Tuesday on the Hawkeye Huddle out of AM 940 in Des Moines and around the world on the HawkeyeHuddle.com, powered by Iowa Telecom.